So I'm Nick Seiter. I'm a field crop entomologist with the University of Illinois. We're standing outside of a cornfield here at one of the research farms on campus where we've conducted some corn rootworm research and where we have some fairly substantial feeding damage from the corn rootworm that we're going to scout for and evaluate. If you look at this particular plant here, you'll see the characteristic, what we call gooseneck lodging, that you get when you have corn rootworm damage. The roots from this plant have been eaten away by the corn rootworm larvae earlier in the season. When that happened, a wind came through, knocked the plant over, or partially knocked the plant over, and as it straightened back up, it gives it this characteristic curve, this goosenecking, we call it. It resembles a gooseneck if you use your imagination. So when we dig up this root, we're going to see that the core of the root doesn't really have a lot of material left. The larvae have eaten that away. What's happened since is that we'll have some regrowth. So some of those roots have grown back into the soil to allow the plant to still take up moisture. But you'll see that this plant is suffering pretty badly from this damage. And if you were to go through this field, you'll find that at least in portions of the field, we have quite a bit of this kind of damage. We'll want to use some water to wash the rest of this dirt off if we want to actually evaluate the damage that's been done. But if you see through here, this core of the root area is going to be mostly eaten away by corn rootworm larval feeding. And one of the consequences of corn rootworm being a below ground pest, if you want to get a good assessment of how well your control has worked, there's really no substitute for going out into the field, digging up some roots, and evaluating the levels of damage that you're seeing. This is the same corn root that we were looking at out in the field that was lodged over. We've cleaned it off with a pressure sprayer. If you look in here, you can see two things. One, where the rootworm larvae have pruned away these roots, and two, you'll see there's a lot of regrowth through here as the corn plant has put on new roots to try to capture some of that moisture after the old roots have been pruned away. We're going to have to tear through some of that new growth to really get in and see the severity of the damage that they've done. What we're looking for especially is right here. We're looking for roots that have been eaten away to within 1.5 inches of the soil line. We have a rating scale for evaluating this damage, and it goes by nodes. So we have 3 nodes on your average corn root, and we work on the percentage of those roots that have been eaten away. So if you have one entire node that's been pruned away, which if I were to dig through here, we have at least one entire node that's been eaten away. I think we probably have more like 2.5. But you're going to evaluate this based on the percentage of those 3 nodes that's been eaten away. So one full node pruned to within 1.5 inches would be a root rating of 1.0. If you had 2 full nodes pruned away, it would be 2.0. If you had 3 full nodes pruned away, it would be 3.0. And we're starting to lose yield from corn rootworm feeding on average at a rating of about 0.75, which is about 75% of one node pruned away. That's where we're getting a measurable yield loss. You have drought stress, it's going to be a little bit less than that. Obviously, the worse the drought is, the fewer roots that you can deal with losing from this kind of damage. But when we evaluate our trials, we use this rating system to put a number on how much rootworm damage we've actually suffered. It's also a great way to evaluate your control options out in the field. And if you're seeing greater than about a 0.5, about half of a node pruned away on your BT traded corn, that's going to be greater than expected damage for those traits. That's something that you want to be aware of and that you want to be monitoring to know whether or not you have a resistant population out in your field. So here we have a healthy corn root, and you can see the difference, I think, pretty clearly. When you don't have that root tissue eaten away, you don't have the same reason to regrow the root. And you can actually fairly clearly see 1, 2, 3 nodes within this root. This one's a nice, healthy, happy root. It's had an opportunity to spread out, and there's really no pruning from corn rootworm on this plant.